If you're about to head to Project Glow this weekend, then don't click away. I'm covering everything you need to know.
Hit the tempo. All my people, strapping, we about to take control. The rhythm, the vibe, that's when you know it's time to get right. Hit the tempo. All my people, strapping, we about to take control. The rhythm, the vibe, that's when you know it's time to get right. Hit the tempo. Just do what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do. Hit the tempo. That's what's for you, it's for you, it's for you, it's for you.
What's going on, you guys? My name is Peyton Burrelsford. Welcome to my channel, where I talk all things live music events, giving you the tips and tricks to make the most out of your experience. Now, I am a Denver, Colorado-based content creator, but prior to that, I actually grew up in the Maryland and DC area and lived there for 8 years after I graduated from college before relocating to Denver. So today, I am extremely excited to be talking about Project Glow, which is why I'm wearing my Echo Stage shirt. In today's video, we're going to be talking all things Project Glow Fest, making sure that you have the information you need to have the most successful weekend possible. As a dance music lover, DC native, and former DC resident, Project Glow has an extremely special place in my heart. Project Glow was really the first real electronic dance music festival brought to the DC area by both Club Glow, a local production company, and Insomniac as a partner for the venture. Project Glow is going into its 4th year now, and although I can't attend this year, I did have the pleasure of attending for the first 3 years, so I've got firsthand knowledge of how to make the most of the weekend. Now, before I dive into my own Project Glow tips and tricks, I have to highly recommend that you check out my friend Emma Capotis' podcast, the Rave Culture Cast, where she recently posted an interview with the Club Glow founder and owner, Pete Kalamoutsos. She dives into his background as a DC native and founder of Club Glow and really originator of part of the DC rave scene, and he also gives some background knowledge and tips and tricks on Project Glow himself, so it's a great interview. Go check it out. And seriously, she's been doing this a lot longer than me and is much better, so highly recommend her channel as well as her podcast. Don't miss it. I'm going to be walking through these tips and tricks in chronological order from before you arrive at the festival to your experience while you're there to even everything that you should do afterwards. So let's get started and jump in with logistics. Okay, starting off with location, if you're planning on attending Project Glow, then I'm sure you're already aware that Project Glow Fest is held in Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and my former home. If you're arriving to town early, then I highly recommend going down to the National Mall to do some sightseeing. You can check out the monuments or visit one of the Smithsonian museums, which are all free, so you can pop in and out, see which ones you like and dislike, and have a good time. Now, a pro tip if you're going down to the mall, some of the museums, while they are free, require a reservation, so if you're planning on going to things like the Air and Space Museum or the African American History Museum, then check in before time, make sure that you do or don't need a ticket, and get that reservation so that you don't get stuck waiting in line and miss out on a museum. The second pro tip is if you're going to check out the monuments, go at nighttime. This will allow you to beat the summer heat as well as the summer crowds. So if you go at night, you get a really beautiful view while the monuments are lit up. It's cooler and much more relaxed and very romantic if you're taking a date or your partner. If monuments and museums aren't quite your thing, or you're still looking for something to do after dinner on Friday night, fortunately there is an incredible selection of pre-parties and shows to choose from before the festival starts on Saturday. First, you have the official Project Glow pre-parties, which are hosted at the Club Glow owned and operated venues Soundcheck and Echo Stage. Both Soundcheck and Echo Stage fall under the Club Glow umbrella, but Soundcheck is really more so the little sister club, with Echo Stage being the big sister. Most of the mainstream main stage headliners will often perform at Echo Stage, where you have smaller up-and-coming acts performing at Soundcheck. While Soundcheck delivers a smaller, more intimate club environment with a rockin' sound system, Echo Stage provides a much larger warehouse-like environment with high levels of production, great visuals, things like lasers, as well as CO2 cannons. Thanks to the incredible work by the team at Club Glow, Echo Stage has also been consistently ranked as a top 5 club in the world by DJ Mag, so nothing to sneeze at here. As a former local, I feel like I really used to take Echo Stage for granted and kind of downplay it to some of my friends who would visit the area. But now that I live in Denver and I'm exposed to other world-class venues, I can truly appreciate how incredible it is. So if you have the opportunity, go check out Echo Stage while you're in town. You seriously will appreciate it and won't regret it. Soundcheck is getting things started early on Wednesday with a performance by Sippy, followed by Noizu on Thursday and Whack In on Friday. And Echo Stage, while they may be starting the party a little bit later, is not to be outdone, as they have Subtronics headlining the official Project Glow pre-party at Echo Stage on Friday night. So if you're into bass music, it will definitely not be one to miss. I think Subtronics has a very special connection with Echo Stage, and he always seems to rinse out new IDs and special remixes before he releases them anywhere else. So if you've seen footage from those shows, it won't be one to miss. Outside of just Club Glow, Soundcheck, and Echo Stage, DC has a number of other high-quality production companies and venues that you'll want to check out. Starting off, we have Flash Nightclub and Bar, which is an independently owned venue located just off the U Street corridor on Florida Avenue in downtown DC. This is an independently owned 3-story venue with a bar on the first floor, a club level on the second floor, and an open-air bar and rooftop on the third floor. Friday night, they will be hosting a local party series known as Deep Sugar, which is run by local producers and DJs. So, if you like classic house, R&B, and funky tunes, you will want to make your way towards Flash Nightclub and Bar on Friday night for Deep Sugar's pre-party. In addition to Club Glow, one of the other major production companies in the DC nightlife scene is New Androids. New Androids started as an independent production company in the city, throwing pop-up events at locations wherever they could find them. Fast forward to today, and they actually now own several venues across the city and are expanding to do even more shows and events. Friday night, New Androids presents Bontan at their warehouse location in Northeast DC. So if you prefer a more underground, community-oriented feel to your shows and want to check out some really good house music, go check out Bontan at New Androids Warehouse. Now, the festival itself is held at the RFK Festival Grounds, which is essentially the remaining parking lot surrounding RFK Stadium, which is the former home of the Washington Redskins and potential future site of the Washington Commanders Stadium. Fingers crossed as a longtime fan. Now, I know hearing that the festival is held in a parking lot outside of an old football stadium is not exactly the most appealing selling point, but rest assured the RFK Festival Grounds are actually an excellent venue for a festival of this size. The festival grounds are easily accessible whether you're driving, taking a rideshare, or arriving by metro, and there's always plenty of space within the grounds themselves to dance and move around. On top of that, as somebody who has done many festivals and also recently returned from Coachella, where I had to do a massive amount of walking across the grounds, the fact the RFK Festival Grounds are very small is good on the 30-year-old knees. Alright, now let's talk arrival to the festival. If you're arriving via rideshare either by Uber or Lyft, there will be a designated rideshare area located nearby the festival. Simply follow the signage when you arrive. Typically, this drop-off area is located in the parking lot at the fields at the RFK campus, which is just a 5-minute walk away from the festival grounds. If you're driving yourself to the festival and you'll be parking, you'll most likely be parking in one of the auxiliary parking lots located around the RFK Stadium, so just look for the parking instructions that come with your parking pass, follow the signage, and I'm sure you'll be all set. Finally, if you're planning on metroing to the festival, which was always my preferred method of transportation to and from the festival each year, then you're going to want to follow the blue and the yellow line towards the Stadium Armory Metro Station, which is located just outside RFK Stadium and is about a 5 to 10 minute walk to the RFK Festival Grounds. Something to keep in mind if you are going to be metroing is, unlike more modern metro systems like New York, which simply allow you to use Apple Pay or Google Pay on your phone to get through the turnstile, DC hasn't updated their system yet, so you will need an old school Metro card to ride the Metro system. Good afternoon, my name is Peyton Burlsford, reporting live from the editing desk, where we have just received breaking news that is going to completely change everything that you have just heard in this video regarding the Metro. We'll turn it over to the studio so that they can give you the update. Tony?
Happening today, a major change is coming to Metro, and it could speed up the time you spend paying for your ride.
Bottom line, the way that you get into a Metro station is about to change. Now, you no longer need to get a Smart Trip card. You can just tap a contactless physical credit or debit card, or you can use Apple Pay to get in. Now, oh my God, my credit card worked. That's a first. When have you been able to tap a credit card to get into a metro station? Now you can Apple Pay your way into a metro station. It's called Tap Ride Go. If you've ever taken a ride on the New York subway, you know this technology already exists, and it's going to be a big deal because how many of us have been rushing to a metro train? You tap your smart trip card and it says add value, and you're like, oh my God, I got to go back to the fare machine to load it up. Now all of that is cut out because you can use your credit card to pay. It's live, baby.
Yes, it is.
Alright, so I was most of the way through editing this video when I checked Instagram and literally saw the video to the news story that I just shared with you all. So, incredible news, the Metro basically fixed its biggest issue of having to use old school Metro cards. You can now use your credit card or Apple Pay to slide right through. So, no need to go early and fill up a card, no need to worry about any lines. When you leave the fest at the end of the night, you are going to be in the clear for a smooth and expedited process. So, back to the video. Okay, so you've arrived at the festival and now it is time to enter. As you make your way either from the rideshare drop-off area, the parking lots, or the metro, you'll have about a 5 to 10 minute walk to the RFK Festival grounds. As you make your way there should be signage pointing you in the correct direction, but what you're going to be looking for is a pedestrian walking tunnel that will take you underneath C Street and Independence Avenue and straight into the festival grounds. Once you get into the grounds, you will first reach an ID check, as Project Glow is an 18 and up festival, so don't leave those IDs at home, folks, unless you want to have a rough start to your day. Once you go through ID check, you'll go through security, which will likely be some form of bag check and metal detector. Typically it's not too invasive, but obviously make sure that you don't have any items that are on the prohibited items list. You'll want to check that before you arrive to the festival so that you also don't get hung up as you're going through security. And once you're through security, you should be inside the festival grounds and ready to enjoy your weekend. Before you jump straight into having fun though, it's of course important to locate where you've got bathrooms, water, and food and drink. That way you can actually survive through the day. As you walk in, you should find bathrooms and water stations on your left-hand side, and food and drink options should be scattered around the festival. And of course, if you are one of the bougie elite, you will want to look for one of your 2 VIP areas located at both the Eternal and the Pulse stages. These give you viewing decks of both stages, along with water stations, bathroom, and bar and food vending areas within each VIP location. As you make your way into the grounds, you'll see that Project Glow doesn't offer a ton in the way of activations or activities. However, they do have several art installations, as well as a vendor village that you'll want to check out, as well as some photo opportunities. So if you've got a group of friends and you want to get that cute festival photo, make sure you go check those out at the beginning of the weekend. Alright, now let's get to the main event. We're going to talk stages. Now, the stage layout and configuration at Project Glow has been a hot topic of discussion ever since year one. The configuration has changed each year as they've tried to find the perfect balance of configuring the stages to minimize the sound bleed and give everybody the best possible experience while also maximizing the sound of each stage. 2025 gives us yet another reconfiguration of the stage setup, but takes us back closer to year one in 2022, where you had either stage at opposite ends of the festival grounds with the secret garden located in the back. This year, however, they have flipped the location of the Eternal and the Pulse stage, which should hopefully lead to less sound bleed issues. Diving into the stage themselves specifically, we'll start with the Secret Garden. The Secret Garden stage is sort of the little sister stage of the festival, where typically they put on local and up-and-coming acts that make out the undercard of the lineup. In the past, this would typically be a stage that I wouldn't spend much time at just due to the size as well as the lineup compared to the other stages. However, this year it seems like Project Glow is really making an effort to increase both the level of production as well as the level of talent performing on the stage. So make sure you go catch a set at this stage. It won't be one that you want to miss. Next up, the Pulse stage. Now, when talking about Project Glow's 2 stages, there really is not a main stage and a secondary stage. It's more like main stage 1A and 1B. If I had to assign 1A and 1B, I would probably assign 1B to the Pulse stage, but that is not to say that it is lacking for production. Now we are going to talk about both the Eternal and the Pulse stage. At Project Glow, when you're discussing these 2 stages, there is no main stage and secondary stage. It is really main stage 1A and main stage 1B. If the Secret Garden is the little sister stage, now let's talk about her older siblings, the Eternal and the Pulse stage. When talking about Project Glow's two stages, there truly is no main stage and secondary stage. What you really have is stage 1A and stage 1B. Now, if I were assigning 1A and 1B to each of the stages, I would likely assign 1A to the Eternal stage and 1B to the Pulse stage. Now, this isn't to say that the Pulse stage is lacking for production, because it certainly isn't. Year one, they placed the subwoofer in the middle of the crowd at the Pulse stage, and the bass was so strong it was wiggling and flaring my nostrils back and forth. If I took a breath on the wrong beat, it would literally plug my nose shut and I wouldn't be able to breathe. The sound system that they supply at the Pulse stage always seems to hit just a little bit harder than the Eternal stage. So why then would the Eternal stage be stage 1A? Well, the Eternal stage is typically where the main headlining acts of the festival would perform. These typically have more of a mainstream main stage sound, so they go on the Eternal stage, which has larger screens for larger and more impressive visual displays. So if you're seeking out slightly higher end spectacle, you'll want to go to the Eternal stage, and if you're seeking out slightly higher quality sound, then you'll want to check out the Pulse stage. And while in previous years it seems like the Eternal stage used to hold most of the headliners, I think this year Project Glow has made more of a push to diversify where the lineup spreads among the stages. So this year you'll see artists like Tiesto actually featured on the Pulse stage, which I think should make for a really incredible experience. Now, fair warning with each of the two main stages, in past years they have had significant issues with sound bleed. So if you were standing smack in the middle of both of the stages, you could hear each of the stages a little bit too clearly, which made for a very uncomfortable and disorienting experience. So hopefully they've ironed out those kinks for this year and found that perfect configuration that limits the sound bleed, but I highly recommend getting yourself well positioned within each of the stages so you've got high quality, perfect sound throughout the weekend. Alright, so you've experienced a full day or weekend at Project Glow and you've had an absolute blast, but unfortunately, the fest must come to an end. Let's talk post-fest plans. If you're getting home, of course, if you parked, you have the most straightforward route. You're simply going to exit the festival through the designated exits, make your way back to your car, and hopefully have a smooth and safe ride home. If you're going home via rideshare, either from Uber or Lyft, you can make your way back to the designated rideshare area near the RFK fields, where you can call and wait for your ride. If you're going back home via rideshare from either Uber or Lyft, you can make your way back to the designated rideshare pickup area, where you can call and wait for your ride. And lastly, if you are taking the metro home, this is where you will most likely have the most arduous journey. It's not to say that it is that difficult, but you will definitely deal with the largest crowds. As you exit the festival, you'll have about a 5 to 10 minute walk back to the Stadium Armory metro station, where you will encounter a significant crowd. If you don't want to wait in long lines or ride in congested metro cars, I highly suggest leaving the festival just a little bit early so you can make it to the metro and beat those crowds. Once you make it through the crowd, it should be pretty smooth sailing to get your way home. The metro system typically holds the trains back so that all riders have an opportunity to board, so as long as you're in line waiting for the metro, you should be good to go without missing the train. Once you're on board, even if the cars are a little cramped, they will empty out slowly as folks off board to make their way home. One tip if you aren't staying immediately next to a metro stop on the blue and yellow line is I actually don't recommend transferring to another line like the red or the green if you need to complete your trip home. Instead, I recommend going outside of a metro stop station, calling an Uber, and finishing your journey that way. It will be a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more convenient, and you'll save yourself a lot of time when it's late at night and you just want to get in a shower and get into bed. If you're like me, as soon as you get home, you're going to realize that you are starving and need a post-fest meal. So if you've got the late night munchies, here are a few late night places that I used to frequent when I lived in the city. First one to check out is Surfside Tacos. This is going to be located not too far from DuPont Circle in downtown DC and is a 24/7 taco stand located centrally in the city. Depending on where you are in the city, Surfside may not be available on Uber Eats or DoorDash, so I highly recommend ordering online ahead of time and either going there immediately after the festival to pick it up and take it home, or going there shortly after you get home and change. Now, my go-to Uber Eats option that is available virtually anywhere you are in the city is H&Chicken. H & Chicken has everything from fried chicken to chicken and waffles to mac and cheese to sandwiches to quesadillas to chicken and rice bowls and gyros. They've got virtually everything that you could be looking for late night munchies, so definitely check them out if you want something that can be delivered. And lastly, an option that you can find late night in DC virtually all over the city is really a DC staple, and that would be jumbo slice. These are extremely massive slices of pizza that really can feed multiple people, but they're perfect for one as well. If you happen to be staying near the U Street corridor, I highly recommend a pizza place colloquially known by locals as simply Gay Pizzas, officially known as Cucina Angelina's Pizzeria. Gay Pizza is a local favorite of many, including myself, so the owner is a lovely woman. Go check out Cucina Angelina's, also known as Gay Pizza. I'm not kidding. Google Gay Pizza DC. Cucina Angelina's will be the first thing that comes up. Alright, if you're somebody who simply has too much energy and the party doesn't stop when the festival ends, then you're going to want to check out some of the after parties. And good news, there are some incredible ones this year. Starting with the Club Glow owned venues, we're going to take a look at Soundcheck. Now, on Saturday night following Project Glow, you have an incredible sled where you... You have an incredible set with Slander Presents Before Dawn, which is officially their Techno Alias side project. So if you love Slander, if you love Decry Bane, but you also love techno, then you're going to want to check that out. And on Sunday night, Soundcheck follows it up with an after party hosted by Hugel? I'm not quite sure how to say it, to be honest. If you like tech house, bass house, and Latin house vibes, then you're definitely going to want to check this out on a Sunday night. Turning to Club Glow's Crown Jewel Echo Stage, we have an absolute banger of an after party on Saturday night with Club Glow favorite Tiesto. So if you miss his set at the actual festival, you can always catch him at the after party at Echo Stage. Now, Sunday night is the reason why I am most upset that I left DC and moved away for this year's Project Glow, because we have Cascade back-to-back Odd Mob closing out the weekend at Echo Stage for the after party. Folks, this is going to be an absolutely incredible set. I'm not sure if you saw the footage from last year's rare back-to-back after party set where you had Zed closing out with Knock 2, but I was pretty upset that I missed that as a DC local who could have gone. Cascade back-to-back Odd Mob is a back-to-back that has never happened, and who knows when we'll get it again. And frankly, Odd Mob is on a major heater right now. So if you aren't leaving until Monday morning, or if you can afford to simply just miss out on a little sleep, do not miss Cascade back-to-back Odd Mob at Echo Stage. I am telling you. Now that you've gone to the after parties, it is the end of the weekend, and the only thing left to do, unfortunately, is to make your way back home. Hopefully, if you follow all of the tips and tricks in this video, it leads to nothing but a phenomenal Project Glow weekend for you. I am extremely sad that I can't be there myself, but I know it is going to be an excellent weekend. As they've shifted the dates forward, you should have better weather. It seems like they're putting even more effort into the level of production, more love and care into the fest and the local community, and I, for one, am stoked that I'm missing out, but I'm stoked that you will get to enjoy. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more here on YouTube, or follow along on Instagram at pay_braille. See you in the next one.